Good day everyone. Our topic for today is all about the issues and concerns in teaching profession, which is the indigenous people education. What is indigenous people education? Indigenous people education encompasses educational practices that respect and promote cultural identities of indigenous people. In indigenous lands where cultures thrive, education is key to survive and thrive. Culturally relevant, inclusive, and true, reflecting identities in all we do. UNDRIP's Article 14, a right to claim to include under the curriculum those indigenous names. Republic Act 10533 allow to abide, inclusive curriculum side by side. Principles guide us on journeys we roam. Cultural roots, community home. Language preserve, a treasure to share. A holistic approach with love and care. Respect for traditional knowledge we must uphold, integrating wisdom young and old. Preserve these teachers equipped with the right cultural competence that's shining bright. Building relationships based on trust and respect. Pedagogical skills to connect and protect. Awareness of histories and challenges faced. Preparation for diversity in every place. Challenges arise, but solutions abound. Inclusive curriculum, technology integrated around. Teacher training, community partnerships strong. Policy advocacy, righting wrongs all day long. Indigenous peoples' education, a beacon of hope. Preserving heritage, a future to cope. Equitable access to quality education's might. Respect the land, respect the way that shining light.
The poem Respect the Land, Respect the Way is a powerful call for Indigenous peoples' education, emphasizing the importance of culturally relevant and inclusive education system that empowers Indigenous communities. The poem highlights the interconnectedness of land, culture, and education, advocating for a holistic approach that respects Indigenous knowledge and traditions. The poem begins by emphasizing the vital role of education in the survival and prosperity of indigenous cultures. It asserts that education must be culturally relevant, inclusive, and true, reflecting the unique identities and perspectives of indigenous peoples. This emphasizes on cultural relevance is crucial for ensuring that indigenous students feel seen, valued, and empowered in their learning environments. The poem then draws attention to the legal frameworks that support indigenous right to education. Andrew's Article 14 guarantees the right of indigenous peoples to control their own education system, while Republic Act 10533 in the Philippines mandates the development of an inclusive curriculum that recognizes indigenous perspective. These legal frameworks provide a foundation for building culturally responsive education systems. The poem outlines several key principles that guide IPE, including first, cultural relevance. Education should be grounded in indigenous knowledge, languages, and traditions, ensuring that students connect with their cultural heritage. Second, community involvement. Indigenous communities should be actively involved in shaping the curriculum, teaching practices, and overall educational experiences. Third, language preservation. Indigenous languages are vital to cultural identity and should be preserved and revitalized through education. Next, holistic approach. Education should be addressed the physical, emotional, social, and spiritual well-being of indigenous students. And lastly, respect for traditional knowledge. Indigenous knowledge systems should be recognized and integrated into the curriculum, alongside Western knowledge. The poem emphasizes the importance of preparing teachers to effectively deliver culturally relevant education. Pre-service teachers need to be equipped with the necessary cultural competence to create inclusive learning environments that value Indigenous perspective. Building relationships based on trust and respect is crucial for fostering a sense of belonging and empowerment among Indigenous students. In conclusion, the poem Respect the Land, Respect the Way offers a powerful and insightful perspective on Indigenous peoples' education. It calls for a transformative approach to education that recognizes the unique cultural identities and knowledge systems of Indigenous peoples. By embracing the principles outlined in the poem, we can create educational systems that empower Indigenous communities, preserve their heritage, and foster a more just and equitable world.
Challenges of teachers in integrating Indigenous people education. First, lack of training. Many teachers are not adequately trained in culturally teaching methods or in the specific needs of Indigenous students. Resource limitation. Insufficient educational materials that reflects Indigenous cultures can hinder effective teaching. Cultural misunderstanding. Teachers may lack a deep understanding of Indigenous cultures, leading to misinterpretation or inappropriate teaching practices. Resistance to change. Institutional resistance within educational systems can impede the integration of Indigenous perspective into mainstream curricula. Language barriers. The absence of qualified teachers who speak Indigenous languages can limit access to quality education for Indigenous students. Enhance the approaches to challenges in the teacher education program. Inclusive curriculum development. Educational policies need to prioritize collaboration with Indigenous communities in developing curricula that reflect their values and knowledge system. Technology integration. Utilizing technology can enhance access to resources for both teachers and students, making it easier to incorporate Indigenous content into lessons. Teacher training programs. Establishing comprehensive training programs focused on multicultural education can prepare teachers to address the unique needs of Indigenous learners effectively. Community partnerships. Building partnerships between schools and local Indigenous communities can offer mutual respect and enhance educational outcomes. Policy advocacy. Future educators should advocate for policies that support funding for Indigenous education initiatives and resources. That's all for today's video, and we hope that you learned something from our presentation.